the Norfolk and Western A-Class. One of my most beloved railway locomotives ever built in the United States, if not the world. Although smaller than a Challenger, but larger than a Y-Class, the A's were a combination of both in my eyes, having the speedy nature of a Challenger, while able to hold the amount of tonnage a Y-Class could. Today, we dive deeper into their story and history, more than we have before. So sit back and enjoy. Having more knowledge on the A's than the other locomotives we've covered, I shall share some of my information, as well as research I've found. The A's were first experimental locomotives, with the first two of the class, numbered 1200 and 1201, as prototype locomotives for the class. These two prototypes were built in 1936, and were tested until the Second World War broke out in 1939. With the railroad's focus now shifted towards supporting the war effort, 1200 and 1201 were reluctantly sent to haul real trains to test how they would handle the real thing. With showing no real issues in the 2 years they served, the Norfolk and Western ultimately decided to build an entire class of this locomotive and ordered 25 more from Roanoke in 1943. The locomotives had a cast steel frame and Timken roller bearings on nearly every surface. They were assigned to freight service and have pulled slower heavy freight trains as well as fast time freight. They were rated at 13,000 tons of drag freight between Williamson, West Virginia and Portsmouth, Ohio, and could reach speeds up to 42 miles per hour with such a load. Between Portsmouth and Columbus, Ohio, they were rated at 5,200 tons of fast freight and could reach 65 miles per hour, marking the A's as one of the fastest articulates on the East Coast. With their driving wheels being 70 inches in diameter, these were some of the largest diameter wheels on any articulate up to that point. This ultimately is how they handled high speed so effortlessly. The length of the locomotive and tender together, being a whopping 121 feet, near matches the Challenger in size alone, which for reference, the Challengers were 122 feet long, with locomotive and tender. In my research, the A's outclassed the Union Pacific Challenger in many ways. And to be fair, I might get backlash for it. But I don't care. In comparing the two locomotive classes, they both topped out at around 70 miles per hour, but the driving wheels on the Challengers being 1 inch smaller than the A's at 69 inches. The Challenger slaps back, however, in sheer length and size, having over a foot in length against the A-Class. But, in sheer hauling power, the A's greatly outclassed the Challengers, including its later variants, with their A's topping out at around 114,000 pounds of tractive effort. The Challenger, although strong, couldn't handle even 97,000 pounds. The only real thing going for the Challengers was their numbers, having 105 built between 4 classes, while the A's only have 43 built in one class. However, both were built along the same time frame, with both starting to hit the rails in 1936, yet the A's were produced past the Challenger's ending frame in 1944, only finishing the class in 1950. In my opinion, even though their class wins my heart, I cannot deny the fact that these two locomotive classes are basically the same, just used under different railroad doctrines, with the Union Pacific doctrine being less tonnage for higher speed. The Challengers, and eventually big boys, were perfect for this. In the complete opposite side of the spectrum, the Norfolk and Western had more tonnage for less speed. I'm sure you all are now wondering, what? An A-class video without mentioning number 1218. Yes, I hear you. We are getting there. With one A-class being preserved by Norfolk and Western, number 1218 was a steam boiler for a chemical plant, then was moved to a permanent home in Roanoke in 1971. When the Norfolk Southern rolled around in 1987, however, a locomotive that was the last of his class became legendary. Unlucky for you all, however, I have already covered the beast story in a separate video. The link to that, as well as OL Alexius's video, is in the description. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have recommendations for other story videos, leave a comment, or find me on Instagram. Until next time.